Cafe Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Riak, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Roanoke, Texas is Bill Mueller, co-founder at Start a Network, LLC. StartANetwork.com is a state-of-the-art professional business networking platform, helps group owners set up, manage, integrate social media, communicate, and monetize their networking groups. So, Bill, what advantage is there to starting rather than just joining a networking group?
I think the most important thing is you're automatically seen as more or less the expert in the group. Mm-hmm. People come to you, you're actually the first line that they're going to see when they want to join a networking group. You're going to make the first contact with them, and you will probably be the go-to person throughout their journey with your group. But the most important thing, too, is you get to choose the nucleus of your group. And that's extremely important because you can put in people that are going to help you grow. Mm-hmm. And everybody should do that if they're in a group anyhow. But when you set up the nucleus as a team, for example, I use realtors. They should have a mortgage lender, home inspector, plumbers, people that are going to help them do their job and be successful. So there's just so many advantages, but I think probably the two key ones is, number one, you can monetize it if you like. Mm-hmm. Number two is that you get to pick the nucleus of the group. You get to basically dictate the culture of the group. Right. Is this going to be kind of light and easy, or is this going to be, fairly strict like some of the groups? I think it's very important to, dictate the culture right from the beginning. What kind of group are we going to be? Are we going to have a lot of fun, or are we just going to pass business cards?
Well, to that point too, being the leader of a group, it's a leadership characteristic, different from being the follower.
Exactly. And, I was talking to a realtor the other day that's running one of our groups, and she said the same thing, is basically it's like owning your own business, and you really can make it a business, but you have the same responsibilities. You're leading that group. You're navigating the course of that group. Mm-hmm. You're dictating the culture of that group. If you want to have a charity aspect to your group or whatever, you're the one who gets to decide that rather than somebody else.
And creating these peer groups, they could be a peer group, but not necessarily need to be.
Exactly. You'll find some networks that are for realtors only. You'll find some that are industry specific, where mm-hmm. they only want one person per industry, mm-hmm. So they're not competing against each other. I find that, almost a hybrid is the best way. There's your social networking groups, there's your real strict industry specific groups. And I think if you can create something in between that allows for a little more flexibility, allows for more social activity. It's one of the things that I'm big at. Even when we meet as a group outside of our networking group for social activity, I encourage them to bring their spouses, because their spouses can be huge advocates for what they're doing.
Well, I like that, the hybrid, and I've seen and participated in several groups where it was really monitored of non-competition. Mm-hmm. What I find in today's world, I really don't consider an eventual competitor as competition. Moreover, and I mentioned that before we got on, creating allies. Many times you need someone else in the same line of business to help you. You may get a project that, by yourself you can't handle. So it is good to be networking with other peer-like groups, and even they may be competitors.
I agree 100%. You get to be known as an expert in your field that way. Other realtors will come to you, and then when they have a need, they may refer somebody even to your brokerage. I mean, it can, mm-hmm. It can take a life of its own.
Yeah, because we really can't do it all by ourselves.
No, we can't, and that's why we formulated Start a Network. This was done as a labor of love because I've been managing a network for several years, mm-hmm. and it was really one of my co-networkers that I found out is an exceptional programmer. He and I set out to change networking. We really wanted to change it from just in person or just a social network and merge the two. We really have merged social networking and social media and in-person networking. Where somebody, if you've ever been in a group, you'll see somebody will pass some business to another and they'll acknowledge that within the group. But it's one thing to acknowledge it in the group when you've got 10 other people or 20 other people that already know that. But it's another thing to now acknowledge that on social media where thousands of people can hear your story. So.
But I'm looking at your site right now, and I see at the start here you say, keeping things simple. All right, even though it's a platform that does help to set up, manage, and integrate the social media, which you mentioned. But it's for persons who want to run a network, but also for persons who want to become a member of a group. So you really work it both ways. So let's say anybody can find your site, startanetwork.com, and find a place there.
Exactly. We're going to actually do a formal launch on February the 15th, and you're going to see a lot of changes to our site between now and then. But we're going to have a Find a Network tab on there. We're going to have a state-of-the-art training academy, which I think is so essential because I go to so many software companies and I'm trying to find out what's going on here. I go through the FAQs or I go through the chat and they send me back to the FAQs, and it is so frustrating. Finally, I give up and I look up, whatever I need to know on YouTube, and it may take me half an hour. I want those answers, front and center for the people in our training academy.
Very good. Well, Bill, I want to thank you for being here. How can our audience find you?
Well, we're on LinkedIn. We have Start a Network, Bill Mueller, /startanetwork.com. Anybody can go to startanetwork.com, and as I mentioned, they're going to see this site morph into something very different within just the next few days, which is exciting. And we're going to be offering all type of group management, not just networking, anything from chambers to associations and so forth. So
very expansive.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Very expansive and inclusive. So you're really reaching out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Bill.
Well, Tom, it's great to talk to the king of networking. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. And to our listeners, it's Bill Mueller. It's Bill, the last name Mueller. Find him on LinkedIn and startanetwork.com. Startanetwork.com. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.